Episode 102, Strength in Weakness.
All big changes start with a swift kick in the ass. Join the journey of lifelong friends, John Curran and Tom Stewart, as they make conventional thought bend over and take a boot to the keister. Warning, listeners may notice a force equal to or greater than needed to get your ass moving. A swift kick in the ass. Living life on your terms.
Welcome to another episode of A Swift Kick in the Ass. This is your host, John Curran, joined by my lifetime childhood friend, Tom Stewart.
Hey, how you doing, everyone?
I hope they're doing well. This is a strange time in our world, and we're back at it. And today we're talking about vulnerability. And is it a strength? Is it a weakness? Or is there strength through weakness? You know, they say a man is strong enough to cry is a strong man. You know, crying and showing your emotion is not a weakness, but some might say that that makes you vulnerable. And in Tom's, yeah,
play 70s music.
Here's a station for you, 70s folk on Amazon Music.
Alexa, play 70s rock.
Here's a station for you, 70s rock on Amazon Music.
Hey, John.
yeah.
So I was thinking about vulnerability a lot lately, and one of the things that strikes me is when we were kids, like back in the 70s, you know, we had wacky khakis on our doorways. Alexa, shut off.
Yeah, I think that the background music actually made us vulnerable to not being able to hear.
Yeah. But yeah, back in the 70s, you know, I was a little kid, as you were.
Yep.
Back with the wacky packy stickers on my door, and the Slurpees, the Marble Slurpee cups. You remember those?
The what's up?
Marble.
Marlboro?
Marble.
Yeah.
Like Marvel comics.
Oh yeah, the Marvel comics. Yep.
Yeah. In fact, I had there was a big Spider-Man card that was cardboard, and he was swinging with a Slurpee cup in his hand. And
Oh yeah.
My sister's boyfriend Mike stole it when they were done with it and gave it to me, and I had it hanging in my room.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. So back in the 70s, Tommy's sister, Sandy, had a boyfriend by the name of Mike who worked at a 7-Eleven, at the neighborhood 7-Eleven. And for those of you who aren't familiar with 7-Eleven, they're a convenience store. And back when we were growing up, that was the hangout place for us. They had video games, they had comic books, they had Slurpees, you know, which were the icy drinks, as well as, you know, beef jerky and Coca-Cola and, you know, just it was the place to be. And Tommy and I had the inside connection because we knew the guy that worked there. And he didn't mind us hanging around, and we'd sit there and just spend the whole afternoon.
You remember he would let us bring our cups in.
Yeah.
And throw the Slurpees for free. Because he said it's really the cup that they charge the money for.
Yeah, so it wasn't, you know, I think the statute of limitations is probably gone on that, so we won't get him in trouble, and we won't mention any last names. But yeah, that was our childhood a lot, spending time in the 7-Eleven, kind of hanging out with the neighborhood kids, you know, reading comic books and playing video games, which were really new at that time.
And at one time we had a kid that used to ride up to the 7-Eleven and buy us candy. We'd have to pay him back, but we had a candy store, remember?
Yeah. So Tommy and I had my dad built us a fort, right? And is that where we had the candy store, or did we set up a stand?
Out front. It was out on the side, close to the fort. But
Okay. Yeah. So we had our we had a fort, which was kind of another place where he hung out. And we set up a candy stand. Yeah. We bought candy and sold it to the neighborhood kids.
yeah. So how's this tie with vulnerability? What I'm getting to is when I was a little kid, I wore jeans all the time, and I had white legs, and I'm just light skinned, and because I have blondish, strawberry blonde hair, so I inherited that white part. So for years I battled that, trying to get tan.
Yeah.
Because I get teased when I was a kid, or going to school. It really affected me. So that was my vulnerability. And when I was like 16, I would try quick tan.
Yeah.
That stuff you rub on. Never worked.
Didn't you try some pills or something once? Didn't it turn you orange? Like a carrot?
That's later on now. I'll get that in a second. So I tried all the quick tans, the suntan oil, and laying on that silver thing, trying to reflect stuff up. Yeah, so I used sun in my hair to make it more blonde.
You use it so much that you can't even see all the hair that he has. Tom really has a mane of hair. It's just so bleached.
Yeah, I'm completely bald now, but
come on, man.
Back in the day, I had long curly hair with, I guess streaks of blonde. Run through it. But when I was in my 20s, I was really into bodybuilding, which they always had ads for suntan pills, and I laid the sun boost.
Yep.
Which were really bad for you. Surprised they got brain cancer and not skin cancer.
Yeah.
Skin cancer, I would have understood. But anyways, and so I bought the quercetin. It's a pill. It's basically beta carotene, the stuff that's down in shellfish and carrots. So me and my friend Benito, we both took them and said, hey, it's making it a little bit, it's affecting a little bit of color, but so we overdosed on them. And I woke up with orange hands and orange feet. I had kind of a nice glow on the body, but my hands and feet, it looked like I had chicken sauce all over my hand. So I went through the drive-thru at Wendy's one time, and the girls were, oh, what's on that man's hand? And I was like, that's my hand. And she was like, oh, Lord, you gotta come over here and look at this man's hands. They're orange. And when I first got on the radio, I was doing a remote at Miami Wings, which was just like Hooters.
Yeah.
And I went to shake the DJ's hands, and he wouldn't shake my hands because he thought I was eating wings and had wing sauce in my hand. So I stopped taking that stuff. Eventually I faded. But.
So how was this fit into vulnerability?
Well, that was what I was real conscious of when I was a kid. It's like for anyone that has a big nose or wears glasses or whatever,
So I'm sorry. I'm just trying to I'm just trying to think this through, and trying to repeat it so I make sure I understand.
Yeah.
So with vulnerability, I guess what I'm hearing is that I know vulnerability is just being susceptible to being hurt in some way. Open maybe to scrutiny of other people, or some type of weakness, perhaps that we perceive
Yeah.
with ourselves. Like Tommy said, with Tommy was self conscious about your white skin,
Yeah.
your white pasty skin, right? That didn't do very well in the sun.
No, especially when we were kids.
Yeah.
We go to the beach all day, and I remember I wore a football shirt. The kinds that have little holes in them. Remember those?
I
And
remember that.
end of the day, I had a sunburn with just little spots all over me.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
so Tommy had a vulnerable. I guess Tommy's skin tone left him vulnerable um, to sunburn, but it also left him vulnerable to um, being picked on by other kids. So there are different types of vulnerability. There's a physical type of vulnerability. That's just like we mentioned with the skin, vulnerable to sunburn. And we all have these things about us.
yeah, you had one when you were a kid. They used to call you Bentley, remember?
Yep. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I mean, those things that just hurt. That you got to finally accept and love yourself for. But
Yeah. So I guess what we're saying is that there's a whole world full of things, a world full of possibilities of being hurt. Um, can we ever be invulnerable? Completely.
well, I think you start building that armor, and I'm guilty of this. When I was 14, I started doing martial arts, did taekwondo and karate, and when I was 16, I found Wing Chun Kung Fu, and I did that for many years. And I think you build up this bravado
Mhm.
around yourself. Even when I was older, and I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, um, you get an attitude that you almost surround yourself with an aura that nothing's gonna hurt you.
Yeah, you're untouchable, right?
Yeah, and as I noticed now that I'm in a wheelchair and I have brain cancer, but I've been more vulnerable, and it seems to attract more people. It's like before, I was scaring them off, and I realized that having this attitude, whether you're a bad boy or what, and by not having it anymore, more girls seem to be interested in me. And I don't mean that like I have a wife and I'm never gonna do anything, but wherever I go, she even comments, your fan club. I get people crouched around me, asking me questions, and they say I'm inspirational. But that's in cancer group. But I think the more you remove that armor, the more vulnerability you show is real. It shows you're human, and people are attracted to authentic people.
Yeah, and let's just face it. The world has taught us to build walls around
Yeah,
ourselves to protect ourselves, and when you do that and you build such strong walls, it keeps people out.
yeah,
Um, and it doesn't really allow for people to come in and enter your world. I think that can be very lonely, um, because you can't share. And also, I know that, in ancient times, just based on my reading about it, and dealing with castles, the castles were built as fortresses to make the citizens of that area, or that the king's people, to make them less vulnerable to attack, to protect them. But when you were locked inside that fort and your enemy was surrounding you and you couldn't get out of the fort, that's when the real troubles began. And that's
Yeah.
where you start seeing, massive disease within the walls. You see people running out of food. You see, just a whole slew of problems. Staying within those walls does not make you strong. You have to be able to come out. You have to be able to come in and go. Come in and go out. There has to be freedom of movement.
And
If
I
you're,
think showing your love or
yeah,
compassion is important traits that
yeah,
help that.
yeah. So it's, like I said earlier, there's different types of vulnerability, and some of it's physical, some of it's emotional. There are social vulnerabilities, just like Tom was saying about, we get picked on for, having a big nose, or having the color of our skin, or our hair. Though, and it's never ending, and there's always something to pick on. Um, and that does make you vulnerable, but it also makes you human.
Yeah.
And I think maturity level really comes into it. When you're a kid, the kids can be merciless.
Yeah.
They can pick, and pick. Um, back in my day, and your day too, Tommy, bullying um, was physical.
Yeah.
It was much more physical, I think, than it is today. Today, it seems to be much more like what I see just normal kids doing, and that is picking on each other
Yeah.
and picking on their vulnerabilities.
Well, they can use Facebook or the internet and chat, and
Yeah,
that it's very easy to become the outsider in that kind of situation.
yeah. But as we grow older, maybe we become less vulnerable to social um, types of um, things that can hurt us, but we do become open to economic vulnerability. And I'm
Yeah.
reminded of that really a lot lately with what's going on with the coronavirus, is that everyone, I mean, and this is not a political debate. This is not really up for discussion. Of course, it's just Tommy and I on here. You can't talk back if you wanted to. Um, in any case, it caught a lot of people off guard. Like my kids, one day they were ready to go to school the next day, and the next day, oh no, you're not going to school. School's closed for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and your poor daughter is in her senior year and
Yes,
missed out on prom and
graduation. Yeah,
yeah, grad night.
yeah, and that's those are kind of rites of passage that we all
Yeah.
look forward to. But it's not just the kids in the school, it's people who have jobs or lost their job
Yeah.
overnight because of what's going on. Um, I thank God that about 15 years ago, when my wife and I started getting serious about our the debt that we had, and we were several $100,000 in debt. If this would have happened to us 15 years ago, when we were in such debt, Tom, I'm not kidding. I think I would be in a body bag right now. I
Yeah.
think that would have been the straw that broke the camel's back, and I don't know if I would have been strong enough to handle it. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I just don't. It would have been unbearable. So I really have found a lot of compassion for people who are hurting right now, who
Yeah.
who were vulnerable.
a lot of restaurant workers and
Yes.
my daughter works at Disney World. They closed Disney, and they've closed all the cruise ships, which is a big industry down here. And my wife kind of works around that field. Yeah. And airline, we have a Fort Lauderdale airport right next to me here, and it affects everyone.
Yeah. I agree. And the last main type of vulnerability is environmental. And right now, we have exposed a huge environmental vulnerability, and that's with a novel virus that we have not seen before, and transferred to humans. It's been around. It's been around, but it never bothered humans before, and now it has. And it's new to us. But if you look back through history, just about 100 years ago, we had Spanish influenza that was very bad. In the Middle Ages, we had the Black Plague. Um, you know, we have had this has happened before.
Yeah.
We've been vulnerable to our to dangers in our environment, and none of this, I mean, will ever go away completely. We will never be totally invulnerable. There will always be something out there that's capable of hurting us. I don't say that to scare people.
I have to be extra careful with this.
Yes.
Because I'm on chemo, so it lowers your immune system. And so I'm especially, careful. I stay in, but I have to go get twice a week. I go to the Cancer Institute to get my infusion.
Right.
And so I have to be careful. I wear a mask, I wear a glove, but I wash my hands incessantly with my hand. Because really I can only use one hand. The other one's paralyzed, but the one I do have, I wash it constantly.
Yeah, so we all have a life to live, and I think that soon people will. I mean, we will have to get through this, and we will have to move on because people need to work. We need to eat. We all need, we need to get back on to life. We can't just sit around and watch Netflix all day. I know right now we have to. It's very important for us to, to flatten the curve and prevent the spread of the coronavirus. Is very important. That is a way of addressing our vulnerability. It's a step that we can take, just like Tommy was talking about wearing a mask. We can eat right. We can try to keep ourselves healthy. We can try to remove ourselves from people who may also be sick, and also create other barriers or other walls around us, to be safe. It's good to protect yourself. It's good to have defense mechanisms. And
the other thing that's hitting people a lot right now is fear.
Yes.
And I treat this just like I do my cancer. What I can change, I'll change. It was my diet. But there's things you can't change. Like I have cancer, but I can't change yet. But I'll do my best to try to fight it by doing chemo and following directions of the doctor, eating right, and working out, exercising.
Yeah. Yeah, and also what you're doing is you're taking your social, you're taking what you have learned and going out and speaking with others who also have illness and are serving as inspiration for them to, because they're going through a lot of what you're going through. You have a
And I
lot to
know
share. You're
that.
trying to help people.
Yeah. And I know a lot of other podcasts have talked about Stoicism
Yeah.
and the Stoic philosophy. And I use that all the time. There's things you can change, there's things you can't change. Don't worry about the things you can change.
Yeah.
Change the ones you can.
So, for those of you who are not that familiar with Stoic philosophy, you might, if you're a fan of the show, you've heard us mention this time and time again. But Stoic philosophy is really about being real. It's not about pretense. It's not about ego. It's about being real and taking the emotion out of life. And fear is a negative emotion. And living your life that way, not living your life in fear, doing what is right, and also trying to improve your life and improve the life of others.
Yeah, being authentic is very important, and it ties in with vulnerability because when you're vulnerable, you're more authentic.
Yeah, and I mean, you're totally right, Tommy. So many times I think we put on a mask, or we put on a brave face, and we don't show our true emotions because maybe we're scared of what other people will think. Maybe I have I spent 15 years in Atlanta, and there is a huge gay population in Atlanta. And even being from South Florida, I did not have many gay friends. I really didn't know any gay people that I was aware of until college, and then I started realizing, after I started meeting people who were gay and getting to know them, some of that fear that I had about something I knew really nothing about, I really gained a lot of respect, because I think that, and again, this isn't a religious thing. It's not it's not meant to be political or religious. It's just my viewpoint. But we are who we are, and oftentimes we try to hide who we are. And when we can present to the world a more accurate picture of who we are, we do make ourselves more vulnerable, but we also find strength in being that.
I agree.
It's you know what? If someone's gay, I really could care less.
No.
I judge a person for who they are. And maybe they're gay and I don't like them. Maybe they're gay and I do like them. Their being gay really doesn't matter. It's who they are as a person. They're straight people that I don't like. It has nothing to do with sexuality. I could care less. It depends on who you are. And it maybe and as we said earlier, there are countless things that people can pick on. We're all different, and there's strength in being different. The world would be boring if we were all the same.
And I think that is a point for, if you were gay and come out, as your strength, but you're showing your vulnerability to be accepted.
Yeah. And I think that too with mixed race couples.
Yeah.
I think that society is very it has been very much against mixed race couples, and for me that was never really my thing. I never fell in love. I never really had a lot of feelings in that way. So for me, that wasn't for me. But I think with society putting so much pressure against it, I think it makes for a stronger relationship if they can survive that pressure.
I went through that. You hear comments, hey, jungle fever, and well, one lady, I remember this old lady, she was was one in every crowd, and it's not fair.
Yeah, it isn't. And again, everyone's entitled to your opinion, to their own opinion. I'm not asking you to feel the way I do. If you have blinders on or feel a certain way, hey, so be it. We're just we're just kind of pointing this out to prove our point about vulnerability and about how we are all vulnerable. I don't care who you are, rich, poor, black, white, straight, gay, however you define yourself or how others define you, whatever labels you have attached to you, healthy, sick, boy, girl, man, woman, um, alternate gender. I honestly don't get that, but that's another story. It all just makes us vulnerable, and how we live with that vulnerability and how we address it in our own lives can really determine how much you live on your terms.
Yes. When I was younger, I was in a group, kind of like a support group, and there was people that came from all over and all different, colors, and there was a transvestite in there, and I felt really bad after he told his stories, of the things that happened to him, and made me a little bit more feeling towards that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that we're all just people, and we're all just trying to find our own way through this world. Our podcast is about living on your terms, and the terms that we face in our life are just these things that make our life truly unique to us. It's our condition. It's the conditions and the terms of our life that we have to live with. My terms are different than Tommy's. Tommy's are different than mine. We do the best that we can to control them and to negotiate better terms. And recognizing your vulnerability can either make you stronger or, it can make you weaker. I guess not recognizing your vulnerability. I guess just address just how you deal with vulnerability, your own vulnerabilities have a very strong impact on how the world views you and how you view the world.
yes, so I almost advise to look at yourself, take off your armor, give it a chance, be who you are. Get in touch with your feelings, and you might be surprised. You might get more out of that than shielding up and putting armor on. And as I said, I always tried between bodybuilding and martial arts. The air that I rejected was probably working against me. I didn't realize that until I was older. Actually, I didn't realize that until I was sick. And, so you gotta let that go and be vulnerable, be human, be compassionate.
You're right.
Yeah, John, I also want to touch on, since we've talked about it in other episodes, I do have brain cancer, and I've been fighting for a long time. I think it's been 2 years plus right now, and I actually had some good news yesterday. I got an MRI a couple days ago, and yesterday I was going to get my results. And usually, my wife comes with me, and we were both scared. Obviously, I tried all those tricks about meditating, and you know, so
Just trying to
I
stay
would look,
calm. Is that it?
see alternatives. Yeah, and look at other patients, other cancer patients, and how they react, and you know. So I went in and I got my MRI, got my results, and they were good. For the first time, my tumors actually started shrinking from the chemo and shoved stable, which allowed me to stay in. I'm inside a trial with new medicine, and obviously, when you get the MRI, if it's not the medicine's not working, they don't want to keep it there. I would be off my program, but I'm on this program that the medicine is very you know low toxicity. It doesn't make me sick. I don't throw up. I don't doesn't kill my immune system. My labs come back like Captain America. I'm always strong, and so I really wanted to stay on this program because the more I can treat it, the more stable I can be and wait for something that come down the road.
Yep.
So that was all good news. So I was able to keep it stable. Had to be stable, or I had to shrink it in order to stay on the trial. And luckily, I stayed on the trial.
Tom, I bet you never in your life hoped for shrinkage. It's funny how life changes.
Yeah. Rearranges your priorities.
Yeah.
John was asking me that. He wondered because I'm paralyzed and I have my body. But I said, that's the worst, man. Nothing wrong there. Because you would think, even half of my throat is paralyzed. So when I eat food, I cough a lot. In fact, the nurse came in yesterday, said, are you okay? Because I was eating a tuna sandwich. I ate some potato chips and they got stuck in the back of my throat. So I started coughing a lot. And I can't even cough naturally. Like, if I try to cough right now, it'd be like, ooh, I can't do it. But if I actually get something in my throat, I cough it back. The left side of my throat is paralyzed.
Yeah.
And so, you would think my left nut might be paralyzed. But evidently it works fine.
I'll take your word for it, bud. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Yeah, a good friend can only ask questions like that. Something so personal. And I'm really, really glad.
Yeah, because John asked me a couple weeks ago, and he was curious.
So, Tom, you getting any?
I'm married for going to be 25 years. Hopefully, we everything works out, and we can have our 25th wedding anniversary. We're gonna have a big celebration.
Yeah.
Probably over 100 people. And we already figured out we're gonna have it at the park. The park I used to run at every day.
Oh yeah.
I used to do the stairs.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful park and it's reasonable. So I have some friends that are in the catering of paella.
Oh, I'm there, buddy.
Paella.
I love paella. Yeah. I love it. It's
rice and chicken and all kinds of vegetables.
You know,
spices.
when I was young, my dad bartered with a Spanish restaurant to make paella, and you had to call days in advance to make the reservation. So because it takes time to prepare it, everything is prepared separately, and then it's all mixed together. So every bite that you take has a different taste to it, and it's filled with, I mean, shrimp and scallops and chicken and sausage, chorizo, and I mean, there's a whole lot of different ways I think of making it, but it's absolutely delicious.
Yeah, my
Um,
friend has a business that is based on that. He does catering, but that's all he does is his big bowl, and he cuts chicken up and throws in with rice, and he makes more money at that business than he did. He worked at the radio station with me, but that
making
was
me hungry.
more. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's making my that. And see, I feel very vulnerable now because I'm hungry. It's making me hungry. Um, totally wrong use of the word.
yeah. Oh, John has to tell us. John has a new dog, and I love dogs too. I have a dog Simba that's up on the couch with me right now. But um, John was telling me a good story about his dog. Let me hear that story again, John.
What story was that?
About scratching your dog when you're sleeping in bed.
Oh, dude. Okay, I guess I have to tell it. And it's funny. Sometimes you open yourself up, and it makes yourself vulnerable to having to retell a story that you never imagined telling a soul. So back in college, I had a dog. His name was Ringo. He was a big Weinerheimer. He was about a 110-pound dog. I think he was mixed with retriever, so he wasn't purebred, but a great dog. And back then, I wore glasses, really thick reading glasses, or really thick glasses. And Ringo and I had a routine every night. I'd crawl up in the bed. He'd jump up at the end of the bed, put his nose down near my feet, and just kind of like rub his nose up alongside me, and lay down, and then he'd roll over and I'd give him a tummy rub, and I'd go to bed, go to sleep. So, this happened every night, night after night after night. Well, this one night, I go and I do that, and he jumps up and he rubs his nose down side of me, and I'm like, oh, okay, let me turn off the light. And I turned off the light on the nightstand next to me, and I put my glasses on the nightstand, and I rolled back over and I started rubbing. I started giving a little, kind of scratch underneath his chin a little bit. Kind of just petting my dog.
Although it wasn't his chin you were scratching, right?
Yeah, then I heard noise coming down from near my feet. I heard him like snort or moan. I don't know what he was doing, but then I started. It's better with you if you have the visual, because I'm making like a hand, like kind of grasping, like trying to figure out, feeling around, trying to figure out, and I'm like, I realized very quickly, Ringo, you dirty dog, you turned around. I wasn't scratching his chin. I was playing with his balls on the other hand. And I thought, man, that was so. I mean, now I was like, Ringo, you dirty dog, and I think he laughed. I think he laughed at me, but I swore to myself I would never tell anyone. And you know what? I told people the very next day. It's just so funny. But even your dog um, will exploit your vulnerabilities. You
Yeah.
know, I let my defenses down. I trusted that he would stay in place, and he must have had itchy balls, and maybe that's the maybe
After you scratched him, he
yeah, and
was all right.
I had to scratch him for him, and
Yeah, my dog Simba, he's famous for sharding. He'll leave a wet spot on
Oh,
on
this is going nowhere fast, dude.
Well, how many times Jen woke me up? We got to change the sheets because it's always a shard.
In any case, I think it's probably time we wrap this up.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, we're going to start ending. I'm going to end this. I'm going to change the name of this podcast to the Sharding Dog or Scratch My Balls. So I just I thought we'd just kind of try to wrap this up a little bit with vulnerability. We've said a couple times now, vulnerability. We're always going to be vulnerable with something. And there are physical, social, economic, and environmental types of vulnerability. So you're not necessarily going to rid yourself and become invulnerable. You're not unbreakable. You're not ever going to be totally kept from harm or the possibility of harm. So we have to make some choices, and we should take the emotion out of it. And you should ask yourself, is this something that you can change? Is this something that you can actually do something about? If Tommy's pasty skin, he was trying to do something about it. And at that time, the options to him were to look like a carrot. To take a, we can laugh about it now, but, he took a step. He recognized that that's something he wanted to change. It was important to him to change. And that was the second thing I was going to mention, to ask yourself, how important is this to you? Change is not easy and it's not guaranteed. You have to be focused. You have to be dedicated, and it has to be possible to change.
Alexa, play Iron Man.
Iron Man by Black Sabbath on Amazon Music.
Yeah, even Tony Stark had to raise his face mask so you could see his expressions.
Yeah.
So it's one day. Alexa, turn off.
Yeah, so, are you being too rigid? Are you being Iron Man, and you think your defenses are so strong, yet you're not letting anyone in, and really you're setting yourself up for a lot of hurt, I think, in the longer term, because it's not sustainable. If you're going to lock yourself into your castle and in your fortress and never leave and never let anyone in, it's going to be a very cold and lonely existence. Now, we're not talking about right now. We have to stay in. We have to keep our distance from one another. But this will pass.
Yeah.
This will pass. And let's all take this as a learning experience, and let us assess our vulnerabilities. Let us assess what risks we have in our lives, and what are we going to do about them as we try to negotiate better terms for our own lives.
Well said.
So this is John, joined by my childhood friend, Tom. And I think we're at the end of another episode of A Swift Kick in the Ass.
Thanks.
So thank you, and keep healthy, stay healthy, and keep living on your terms. Keep kicking ass. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of A Swift Kick in the Ass, and that today's topic inspires you to get your ass moving and living on your terms. Please take a moment to rank this episode on iTunes or wherever you get this podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Visit our website at aswiftkickintheass.com. Have a great day.